Viewers, my name is Omoma Clinton from Jack Solutions Up. Today we'll be looking at literature in English, and the topic we are looking at today is poetic devices. You might want to know, what do we mean by poetic devices? Of course, poetic devices are tools or terms that are used by poets to pass their messages. And these poetic devices, they are very important because WASC, UTME, and other exams, you do come across questions on poetic devices. You might be given an unseen poetry. What is an unseen poetry? An unseen poetry has to do with poetry that you have not seen before. So the essence of the poems or the poetry is to assess your ability to use poetic devices when reading or analyzing the poem. So we get to looking at some of the poetic devices which definitely JAMB, Poetic, and other examples the set question on. One of them is enjambments. Then two, we have rhyme. Okay. Then three, you have meter. Then four, we have refrain. Then five, you have repetition. Then six, we have reading. So we're going to be looking at the last one, end stop line, end stops line as well. So these are some of the poetic devices you have. There are other ones, but with time you get to find out the other poetic devices. So the first one is enjambment. Enjambment is also known as run online. Now, the essence of enjambment, there are two reasons for using enjambment. Number one is to achieve a rhyme scheme. The writer will want to use enjambment, meaning that he doesn't want to stop, he doesn't want to end with that line. He wants that line, let's say the first line in the poem written by John Donne titled Good Morrow. He said, I wonder by my troth what that and I did. So instead of the D to be in the last line, till we love to be in the last line, he broke the line by taking that part of the line to the next line, so that you can have a rhyme scheme here. So the essence of enjambment, number one, is to achieve a rhyme scheme by allowing the line to run into the next line. So enjambment is also a run on line. Instead of having a full stop at the end of the line, you will have a full stop in the middle of the following line or the next line. That is called enjambment. Then we also have rhyme. What is rhyme? Rhyme simply means the similarity in sound that a word shares with another word. So if I have something like this, for instance, I have key and I have key. These two words rhyme. Of course, many people pronounce it as koi. This is not koi. This is key. Okay, it rhymes with this. The same thing as this. When you have this and this. Okay, this is sweet. It's not suit. Many people say hotel and suit. It's not suit. It's sweet. So these two rhyme. This is what I mean by rhyme. When they have similar sound, this is called rhyme. Okay? So rhyme is also important. And which type of rhyme is that poets use in their write-up? They use what we call end rhyme. What is end rhyme? End rhyme means the similarity that a word has with another word and the end. So end rhyme means the rhyme that happens at the end of each line. When you are reading a poem, at the last word in each line, if they rhymes, that is called end rhyme. So if I answer that twinkle, twinkle, little star, the last word there is star. Up above the water, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. So we have R. Then I say, up above the world so high, you have I. Like a diamond in the sky, you have sky. So when you look at this rhyme, look at it. Star rhymes with R, the last word in the line. So this is A. You always start with letter A. If they ask you, how do you go with rhyme? Use the letter. The first letter in the alphabet is A. Then A rhymes with star, so you write A again. But high does not rhyme with A, does not rhyme with star, so you go to the next letter, which is B. Then sky rhymes with high, you go to write B. So the rhyme scheme of this poem is A A B B. A A B B. So this is how you identify rhyme scheme. Always look at the last word in each of the line. Okay, so this is important. They ask questions on it, especially in unseen poetry. They will ask, what is the rhyme scheme? Always look at the last word. So the rhyme scheme is A A B B. So they ask questions on edge rhyme a lot when it comes to rhyme, edge rhyme. Then meter is the pattern of stress and of stress label, meaning there are some poems that they have some reading. So those poems that have some reading, they have what we call meter. So meter determines the reading of the poem. It makes the poem flow like a music. That is called meter. So the pattern of rhyme, the pattern of stress and of stress labels, that is meter. Then we have refrain. Refrain is repetition of the same word, phrase, or clause at the end of the line, at the end of each stanza. Example: they use refrain in "Do not go gentle, ito that good night." The last line of each of the stanza is repeated. That is called refrain. So when you, for example, Africa, my Africa, they repeated Africa in each of the stanza. That is an example of refrain. When you repeat the same line or the same word in each paragraph, that in each stanza is called refrain. Then repetition is when you repeat a word, or when you say a word, mention a word more than one time for the sake of emphasis. For example, cage bird, they repeated the cage bird and the free bird many times. That is called repetition. The same thing as the bat, they repeated bats as well in the bat by D.H. Lawrence. So this is what I mean by repetition, repeating one word for the sake of emphasis more than one time, for the sake of emphasis. Then reading is the flow of the poem. That's some poem that looks like a song, like I told you. So what determines the reading is the meter. So reading is also found in some poems, not every poem, but mostly it's found in poetry as well. Then we have called S-stop lines. This is when the line does not run into another one. So S-stop line is the opposite of enjambment. When the line does not run into the next one, there's always a full stop at the end. That is called end-stop line. There are many others. With time, we get to know them. So now let's look at some questions based on what we just learned. Okay, so we have some questions based on the topic which we just learned, poetic devices. So the first question says, dash is also known as run online. Of course, I've told you before that another word for run online is enjambment. So when you look at it, the correct answer is enjambment. You want to know what is caesura? Of course, in our next video, I'm going to explain the caesura to you so that you understand it a lot. You understand it when you see it in any exam. Then the next one we're going to look at is rhyme. I also taught you rhyme that when you are giving question based on end rhyme or what is the rhyme scheme, know that anytime they ask you what is the rhyme scheme, look at the last word. This is 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 the last word. Okay? So looking at the last word, depress does not rhyme with let. So always start with A. This is A. Then the second one, let, does not rhyme with this. So you go to the next letter, B. Then impress, of course, look at this. From here to this place. Rhyme with from here to here. So we have press, so we have B. And we have A rather. Because this one with this. Then bereft, eft, rhyme with eft. So from here to here, so we have what? B. So the rhyme scheme of this is A, B, A, B. And the correct answer is B. Okay, so we're going to take some assignments. I'll give you a point, then you tell me the rhyme scheme as a feedback. Thank